Welcome back to the Artisan Homestead. Today we want to walk around our property and show you what it looked like at the time of purchase and what it looks like now. I'll also talk a little bit more on what we were looking for and why we bought this specific house. This is what our house looked like when we purchased it in the summer of 2020. With a living room that has, at one side, 2 bedrooms which are separated by a closet. At the other side of the living room is this hallway to the toilet and bathroom. And here is the kitchen area. We're not going to share the inside of our house at this moment. Before moving in, we cleaned and painted the walls, and we did do a DIY kitchen makeover that we might share more about later here on our channel. On to the outbuildings. There's a bread oven house and 2 stone barns that once housed pigs. As you can see, nature was already taking over these old stone buildings, and we were very curious to find out what they looked like inside. The garden was mostly just a grass lawn, and there was this hedge at the side of the road that wasn't trimmed for years, so it grew out in a line of tall trees. Those trees were a problem for the telephone and other cables that the branches were intertwined with. These are a variety that is not native, so they don't add a lot of biodiversity here, but the trees do take away most of the sun in our garden, and they are also not here as, a barrier from the wind, because wind usually doesn't come from that side, it comes from over there. So we knew we had to look for solutions here. Just like we knew we had to start renovating the barns to make sure they would not turn into a ruin. So a little more on why we chose this property. We wanted to buy a house without a mortgage or loan from the bank. So after selling our house in Belgium, we knew exactly what our budget was. We knew we weren't going to be able to buy a fancy big house that was already renovated within our budget. So we just looked for something that was livable and had lots of potential. We did not fall in love with this house immediately. My brother already bought his property across the street and suggested this house to us several times. At first we didn't like it that much. I think we wanted something that was more picturesque and maybe with more land. As we were looking at other properties, some of them were much more than we ever expected possible within our budget. Beautiful French houses with a story to tell, or houses that were big, completely renovated and barely needed any work. Some properties were basically a ruin, but with so much land and such a low price that we thought it could also be a possibility to live in a rental home for a while or whatever. But we always said to each other that the location of my brother's property was way better, and the reason we weren't convinced of other things we saw was always the location. Then we got the best advice. You can always change what your house looks like, but you can never change its location. So we came back here and saw my brother was right. This house could be perfect for us. It feels like you're in the middle of nowhere here, but in a good way. It's quiet. Yet it still is very close to a small town that has everything you need, like a school, a pharmacy, a bakery, a little grocery shop, a bar, and so on. So that's why we're here. And this is what our house looks like now. Not that different, as you can see. We have built a dry stone wall here in the front yard with stones we had left over from the first part of the barn renovation. In our front yard there's also an old well. It has never been dry, even in summer when it's really hot. There's always water here. For now, we still have a lot of the construction site mess here, but it is what it is. As long as we're renovating, it will be a little bit messy. After clearing all the bushes that were taking over these old buildings, we were happy to find this cozy little courtyard. It still needs a lot of work, but we did manage to finish 2 complete rooms here, and we'll keep on renovating the other rooms and the walls on the outside. I'm pretty sure that by the end of this year, this space will already look a lot different, but we'll update you on the progress every once in a while. We cut down some of the trees at the side of the road. They're still here, but just as a low hedge instead of the tall trees they were. They seem to have survived that pretty well, so we will continue cutting the other ones this year. It feels weird to take down healthy trees, but we really want to bring more life into our garden. You'll see that later on. We probably will be using the bigger pieces of wood as poles for a carport or something like that. And we're using all the branches for vegetable plants to grow up, and also for structures for our kids to play. So we have a little corner of the garden that is our kids' play area, and we have a part of the garden that is prepped as our vegetable garden. Most of the garden is still grass lawn that was very tall last year with lots of weeds and some wildflowers. We decided to have less grass lawn little by little, as it is a lot of work to improve the soil and make it ready for growing food. So we will be adding more growing space every year by cutting down on the amount of space that is just grass. We are working on improving the soil by not tilling the soil, using all kinds of different techniques to figure out what works best here. We have a very heavy and compacted soil. We've mainly been growing annual plants here last year. In the future, we want this area to be filled with fruit trees, berry bushes, and all kinds of perennial edible plants. For now, we look at our garden as a learning and experimenting space where we grow as much vegetables as we can while we build soil, expand our knowledge, and in the meantime grow more and more perennials to expand our plant collection. So you could say we kind of use our garden as a plant nursery for a food forest we want to plant somewhere else in the future. We've put a lot of nuts, apple seeds and so on in the ground here in our garden, at the sidelines, everywhere. We'll see what comes up in spring. Like I said, my brother owns the property across the street and he has a lot more land. So we also have a shared vegetable garden here. both in our garden and his, we made lots of hugelkultur beds. I'll definitely talk more about those in upcoming videos. It's January now, so the garden is pretty empty. Our chickens are clearing the last garden bed that needed that. We are going to start our seeds indoor pretty soon. I can't wait for the growing season to begin, and I am looking forward to learn much more, and we'll take you along while we plan, grow, make mistakes, learn from them, and hopefully harvest a lot of delicious homegrown veggies. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments down below. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked watching it, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. I'll talk to you soon. Bye!